Hello and welcome back to the channel RS Trades or Trade with RS. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while and I thank you very much for, you know, the commitment and the time that I put into these videos. But ultimately, we're here again just to talk about my journey. We are finally in the second quarter of 2025 and it's been a good journey so far, man. I just want to highlight a few key points of where I'm at in my journey right now with regards to trading. So I'll go through this short PowerPoint slide. Within the last few slides, I've updated where I'm at currently. So in Q1 2025, I received a funded account in November. Started trading this live, and then I eventually noticed that I had a soft breach. Now, this was due to me not actually knowing the rules of when actually attaining the funded account, so I ended up breaching it. So, with a gesture of goodwill, the prop firm decided to give me another account, which was a 25k funded, a 25k, where I had to go through two steps to ultimately pass. Then I passed stage one on the 11th of March and was working towards stage two to get the final valuation. And basically, um, coming into the Q2 of 2025, I passed the prop firm challenge, and here's my certificate. 25k funded, boys. Let's go! And I received my first payout from Quanteco. This is a really proud moment of mine, and you know, it just goes to show that if you believe in the process, it will happen. And I just want this compounding effect to occur within my trading. And ultimately, this day was the moment I was really waiting for. And I knew that I could make money online. Now, currently, now that this is out the way, I am currently still back testing and in boot camp, in Blue Belt boot camp at the minute. And I am still doing some further back testing with other Forex pairs. I've done my first back testing with gold, with Nasdaq, and I'm currently doing a back testing um, strategy or back testing my strategy in TradingView using a forex pair known as US dollar JPY. So I will be carrying that out and gaining a bit more context and further knowledge within how the market operates within my system. My redefined system is ultimately fine-tuned to the point where I know what I'm doing every single time. So I'll briefly run through this process and then we'll be doing some technical analysis for this week coming up. So higher time frame context is required based on the weekend analysis, which I'm going to be doing today. And my trading time windows only between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. Primary focus is in within the London Open and New York Open, so when the session volatility is at its highest between those open levels, opening times. Utilizing the 1221 EMA, I know it's an indicator, but I'm also looking not just at the indicator, but market structure, sentiment. Does it propose the trend shift? What phase is the market in? Is it in a markup phase, known as stage two, or bullish, or bearish, or markdown? Accumulation and distribution. So just coming back to the theory of Wyckoff. And then my entry is based on the shift with a confirmed break or structure or market structure break, along with the cross of the EMA. Depending upon if the EMA is green, then it's for buys. The EMA is red, it's for sells. And basically, I'm drawing fib-based extension levels, targeting 6181 and 1.168, which I further need to do a bit more reading into why I take those as TP levels. But yeah, initially my TP aim is always going to be a 1 to 2 risk the reward, and then basically I aim for a 2R, potentially if the trade is running perfectly. And there's been situations where that has happened. And obviously the stop loss is the last part of the trade, where you have to put it above the prior or upper candlestick, which includes the wick. This precedes the cross before the EMA. And yeah, basically that's my trading system and process. And yeah, the aim for me for 2025, going into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, currently in the second quarter. For the second quarter, I want to achieve another payout and maintain consistent profitability within the 25k funded. If I achieve that, then if I could keep that consistent for 12 weeks, then I have the opportunity to come into Quanteco's office and potentially do an interview, which would be a great opportunity to do. I would love to do that. And then essentially, it's just about scaling up from that point onwards. So the next target will be a 50k account, and then eventually a 100k account. So yeah, that's my process and my journey so far. I am forever grateful for God giving me this process and this timeline and this opportunity. So yeah, let's get into some charts. So currently looking at gold on the weekly. So we know that gold has topped out at this local high, April 21st, 2025. So we opened up 2 weeks ago negative, and since then we've had a bit of a pullback on gold, and general pullbacks consisting of up to, let's just say, 5%. Typically these kind of moves would trace back pretty quickly. Having the historical price shape of how gold moves, clearly in an uptrend. Now moving on to the daily, I've drawn a Fibonacci retracement from this high to this higher low, as this is your first high low of support, that's your second higher low, because we technically haven't broken any of these levels yet, as this essentially means that price has wicked up, so it hasn't actually broken this level. So currently as we speak, on the start of the week, which was on the 30th, this was a brilliant opportunity to get into a long, literally matched up with the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. If I put a buy stop at that level, we could have pushed that move up to the upside, and that would have been a beautiful trade to run through. However, it is what it is. Now, currently as we speak, price is consolidating. There's no real kind of trend at the moment. So moving down to the 4 hour, I am looking to see if price can potentially push back down, but the sellers already gained momentum as of last week, because essentially your last week's price action consisted of how many days? From here to here was your week's worth of price action. I believe is that, yeah, that's your week's worth of price action. And yeah, it's been quite crappy. From here to here is your week's worth of price action, but it looks like it wants to recover. And yeah, I'm thinking this week, if we wait for price to potentially push up into this local supply zone, then I'll be looking to enter longs based on this local structure level and this local lower low. But we also have this local wick, so we could potentially enter sells. And if we do, then I'll be trading that move to the downside to re-enter at that 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. And yeah, and yeah, that's what I expect of this week's worth of price action. So if I'm doing a fixed range volume profile, just generally looking at price action, just have a look here. from this high low, sorry, from this local low low, if I do here to current price action, your value area high is where the resistance is, your value area low is where that demand level is. So we clearly have buyers here, and your point of control is currently in that phase. So we need to see where price will go. So essentially, I'll be keeping an eye on gold this week. So yeah, nothing to currently do in terms of action, but we'll have to just keep an eye on price action. So keep an eye on price action based on the local structure and higher time frame context. And we'll put tomorrow's date just to ensure we know what we're talking about and referencing the correct thing. Right, moving on to silver. Now, silver's been pretty decent this week. Well, as of yet. This trendline liquidity on the weekly. You can see that multiple times where trendline traders may have entered their positions, but we clearly see that silver is on the upside and wants to continue trending up. That bullish breakout was absolutely insane. Now we're above this first level as a take profit area because we've done a trend-based fib extension from here to the local high and the higher low, meaning our next target is quite far away from where it currently is sitting. So if I'm going on to the daily, I'm having a look. I'm looking at price action and I'm thinking, okay, so if we delete some of these levels and we look at just the total structure, we can clearly see that price wants to continue. I'm very conscious that silver will continue its uptrend. I'm thinking that I'll probably enter buys into silver coming up to this week. In terms of sellers, I mean, on the weekly, we're already past this second level of TP being the OP level, and that daily weekly breaker structure is formed. So I'd say if we do see any pullbacks, I'm looking for price to potentially enter here and then push up. But if we just continue pushing right the way through, then I'll continue to just keep buying up. But yeah, this is looking pretty damn good this week. I genuinely think that this week will be interesting for silver, and I will be keeping an eye on to where price will be going. So I'm just gonna put here for the 7th of the 7th, 2025, buys are valid on the weekly high time frame context, showing bullish signs, and weak and lower time frame context is strong trending. So yep, keep an eye on that pair. Definitely will set an alert at this local high, could potentially enter a buy. So buy a structure. Now going on to Euro USD on the weekly. Euro USD on the weekly, we've finally broken value area high with a level of strength, but not too much strength. Now ultimately we have this local resistance level coming into factor. Price is slightly pushing away from it. And we'll just have to see where price goes. But on the weekly, And on a daily, we are trending up very nicely in a strong direction. So I'd say for any pullbacks, um, I reckon we do revisit potentially this local structure because it's also a 32.8 fib retracement, because you can clearly see sellers coming in and trying to buy back into that level. So local structure, yeah, for buys potentially. But if I'm looking at retracements and support, I would say from this local higher high, the price is made. You've got multiple higher higher highs, higher lows. So we'll just see. I'd say, yeah, definitely this area is a confluence. So definitely this area will be interesting. There's a general demand area. So yeah, we'll have to see where price goes with that. Yeah. So for Euro USD, I'm looking for trend sells or a slight pullback to potentially re-enter in for buys again, but we also need to maintain and look at this local structure at the high. 4 hourly, we dipped into this area of demand, but kind of pushed up, so we just need to see where price action wants to go next. So I'd say for Euro, just keep a close eye on current price action and local supply zones. US dollar JPY. So on the weekly, on the weekly we are trending down, but we are also at a local support area multiple times. This is the third support area, should I say the most at least. So definitely a key zone to pay attention to. On the daily, we are ranging between this local high and this lower low. So dropping down to the 4 hourly, we have a local demand zone set on the 26th of May. And we've tapped into that area multiple times, so that's known to be a general support zone. Now dropping to see what price action has actually done this week. Not too much. I mean, we tapped into the local zone, so we could have probably entered a buy here. But if I'm dropping to the hourly time frame, this was led by news and then basically eventually retraced back. So we genuinely need to see where price needs to go next, but higher time frame context is telling us that we could see a bullish breakout and potentially a trend to the upside, but I'll be looking to see if it can also get back to this local demand zone, as it's done that multiple times already on US dollar JPY. And then on the weekly for the Nasdaq is looking strong with a breakout of all-time high. I would say it's important to keep an eye on pullbacks and local demand zones. So you know that there's a general demand zone within this area. Price has pulled into the area multiple times, knowing that buyers are stepping in within the area. And if we're going from potentially I'm deleting this and I'm looking at a retracement from potentially here to here, you got one area of support, so we'll have to keep a close eye and see what happens this week with the Nasdaq. But Nasdaq on the daily and on the weekly showing signs of trend continuation to the upside, but pullbacks can happen, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Nasdaq. So yeah, thank you all for listening. This is just a minor update. I won't be covering crypto currently. Um, but yeah, thank you all for taking out the time and listening to my analysis, and hopefully we can have another profitable and lovely week. Make it a great one, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm out. Thank you very much.